Thank you, Justin. Always on time, mate. That's what I like to see. So I'm Sam. Thanks very much for being here today and supporting TellyCast, an amazing brand and a business that needs our industry to get behind it, spend some money with Justin. So I've sold my company, pretty glad about it. I thought I'd share with you your 5 steps to your very happy ending. This kind of works if you're a freelancer as well, because essentially you're working for yourself, you are running a company as well. And I just thought it'd be quite interesting for people to hear a little bit about the journey, but also the stuff I learned from all the mistakes I made along the way. Because all I really did was mostly make massive mistakes again and again and again, and kind of blagged my way through them, a lot of sweat and tears, and then figured some stuff out right towards the end. So once upon a time, this business I launched in 2003 from my house in Tottenham. I reckon that photo was probably about 2007, 2008, probably about 5:30, 6 in the morning, making breakfast for my children. I was fucked. I mean, look at me, right? So fat, knackered, you know, doing lots of different things. I think the apron's a little bit small for me, you know, like it wasn't going particularly well. I found it incredibly exhausting, and you know, running a company is basically horrible most of the time. And so if you work in a business and you've got bosses, yeah, they probably look like they're having a great time, not doing very much work with their feet up a lot of the time while you're running around getting stuff done. But it's pretty agonizing a lot of the time. So I started my business as a photographic agency. I was essentially a press photographer for newspapers and magazines. And I started my company, number one, because I had a new baby and was desperate to get out of the house. And number two, because we had a little bit too much work for me to be a freelance anymore. And so we got a little office in the local techno park, paid for with EU funds in Tottenham under the North Circular. It cost about 300 quid a month, and we started a business. And I'm going to run through a few of these bits that we had to do along the way to get from that spot to get to selling our business to a big PLC. Essentially, it takes a long time. Everyone thinks that you can build a business and sell it in like a handful of years. It's never going to happen, okay? If you're going to start a media business, it's definitely a 10 to 20 year project, okay? And so you have to be a marathon runner, not a sprinter. Okay, I'm neither, obviously. But really what we realized pretty quickly is we had to differentiate. We had to be different from everybody else, because there's no point just doing the same thing. If you're a new business, the market doesn't need you to do the same thing as what everybody else is doing. It needs you to come in and offer something new and different. So we started doing photographic assignments. Great, we're working for this magazine. Great, we're working for that magazine. Oh, brilliant, we're working for this newspaper. But we suddenly realized that they could have loads of different people doing that. And so what were we doing differently? So we realized that we could go out there and write brilliant exclusive stories that they couldn't get from anyone else. They couldn't just send somebody to show up like they would do to a number 10 Downing Street press conference or to a premiere. So we'd find a brilliant big exclusive story. And by the way, they were willing to pay far more money for that, to have that on their front page, than they were just to send us to somewhere to cover something that lots of other people were doing. So that was great. That got us into the idea of exclusive content back in the early noughties. All of a sudden, we realized that there were websites that needed video. We were like, fantastic. Well, we're going out shooting all these brilliant stories. Let's shoot video. So I went and found a loan for about 50 grand and bought an edit suite and a camera, which is about all you could buy for 50 grand back then. And we went out and shot loads of breaking news on video. Total disaster. Nobody wanted it. We didn't realize that without 3G phones, video was on Real Player on a website and took about half an hour to watch it, anything. And so they might have wanted it, our clients, but they couldn't use it and no one was watching it. So it's a total waste of time and money. So we had to mothball the whole thing. It was a bit of a disaster. But what we could do at the same time was start to do our model in different places. So we opened an office in New Delhi, in India. We opened an office in Australia, in Melbourne. We opened in New York, and we started creating exclusive content all around the world and selling it to a network of different people. At this point, we realized that TV production companies were reading our stories in a magazine and then phoning up the contributors and saying, would you like to make a TV show? And we were making a few grand from our journalism, and they were like coining 250 grand out of a documentary. And we were like, oh my God, we're missing out on this. So we started to co-produce with production companies where we'd bring the idea and they would make the show and sell it. And that went pretty well. And so we opened up a TV production company, and we started making our own shows. And we were still covering all these news stories for the news media, but also the best of them were turning into TV documentaries. This sounds like it was really nice and just, you know, we were bowling along, just making more and more money. It was just really difficult. And the reason we were having to pivot all the time was our main market was starting to slide down a hill. People weren't prepared to pay as much. There was more competition. It got really difficult. And if you're in a business, if it's not growing up and to the right, it's dying, okay? So a bit like the unscripted TV marketplace of the last few years, you have to find growth, you have to keep things going in the right direction. And the way you do that is to try something new. The trick to that is try something new that doesn't cost you hardly any money, but has the opportunity to go to the stars. You have to identify those special things, okay? So we started to put the video that we couldn't use any other way when we were going out and casting for our documentaries. We started to put it on YouTube in about 2006, okay? Everyone was like, what are you doing? That's copyright material and you're giving it away for free. You're not gonna make any money. And I was like, yeah, but we already own it and it's sitting there, no one's finding it. And if we put it out on the internet, people might find it and license it. And they did. We got a few TV shows that would find some weird and wonderful thing that we'd done and they would license it, and that was adding into our money. Anyway, essentially, what we carried on doing all the time was, what can we launch to try and find that next thing that will pay the bills? And we kept going and we kept going and kept going all the way down this list. At one stage, we kind of decided we could be the biggest news channel on YouTube. And we managed that, okay? Sounds ridiculous, but with an amazing team, all our colleagues, all striving in that direction, we managed it, okay? We then realized we'd run out of money because we were spending all this money on YouTube videos that weren't making us any money. And so we had to go and raise investment. And Channel 4 gave us £2 million, which we then spent on making loads more videos. And we launched a brand content division because brands wanted to get on our YouTube channel because we were getting 100 million YouTube views a month. And then we launched our own shows and had enough cash flow to make our own shows. We went through all these things, we got to 70 million subs, and Netflix gave us their first UK unscripted series called Amazing Interiors. We won awards, which took years and years and years of not winning them, and sitting next to Justin at awards ceremonies and hearing that Vice had won it again and again and again and again. But in the end, we all had a big party and it was fantastic and we won them. Right at the end of this long journey, we got really profitable, right at the very end, okay? And then we made loads of money selling to Future. I did a year in there, and now I'm a farmer, okay? So life changes in peculiar ways, but I feel much happier, much healthier, and I feel like it's really important that I share this journey so people realize how difficult it is, but also the benefits of doing all that work. So I'm chair of governors at our local primary school. I'm now lucky enough to teach at the NFTS on the masters there. I consult for lots of business leaders through my business, Creativille, and I work hard to support the creative community by sharing the pain and the misery that I had along the way. The great news is if you're building in digital right now, it's a fantastic time. It was difficult to build 10 years ago because, like with my colleagues who are here, we were making it up as we went along. There was no playbook. In fact, Alex, who you'll see later, who's now at Superpower Blondie, he helped write the YouTube playbook. You know, we actually were asked to help write it. And that was great fun, but it was really difficult. And now there's an absolute playbook. It's not difficult to build in YouTube or Snapchat or TikTok anymore. It's really not difficult. It's actually really easy because children are doing it every day, okay? And so when I sit in front of a load of adults who think, oh, this is really difficult, I just say, well, just ask a 12-year-old to do it. It's really simple, yeah? So all this bullshit about it's so hard, how do you do it, blah, 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 they give you the information on the website. It's easier than making an IKEA flat pack, okay, being successful on those platforms, because if you're successful on the platforms, they make loads of money, right? So it's a very simple thing. So all this crap about how hard it is, forget it, and start showing up and actually just download the stuff and follow the instructions. And if you stay long enough, try hard enough, keep going, keep changing, you'll be absolutely fine. The good news is it's a high growth economy, right? So all of this stuff about TV's on the slide, it's so difficult. Well, this creator economy is going to double over the next 2 years, right? That's an unbelievable, phenomenal explosion of value, all right? And you can take a chunk of that if you get involved, okay? It doesn't mean you have to start a big business. Doesn't mean you have to go and raise any money. You can make a film on your phone. You can put it up. You can absolutely smash it. If anyone's seen A Mug of Life recently, amazing little videos on TikTok of a guy that goes and gives a cup of tea to people and has a chat with them, right? That was started about a month ago by an AP from television who just got fed up of TV and went up and started having a chat to people in parks. It's got about 30 million views straight out the bank, okay? So everyone says it's impossible to do it. Bullshit. Get on with it. Just start trying. Just start doing it. It's free, okay? So, good news. It's going to be really good. Things are going to go well. Okay, so 5 steps, right? What do you need to do if you want to build a business, okay? Number 1, you have to develop your superpower. As you can see by my ridiculous list that I showed earlier, we didn't have any clue what our superpower was really for a long time. We just kept trying different things until we locked into our superpower. And if you don't know what your superpower is yet, if you've got a channel or if you're building an audience or whatever and you're not sure what your superpower is, the trick is to test and learn. Just keep going, try new things, keep seeing how people respond. If you're putting videos up on TikTok and they're working, fantastic, do more. If you put a video up on Facebook and it gets 0 views and somebody says this sucks and it's rubbish, don't do it again. It's just binary. Just keep trying different things. After a while, you'll realize that there are certain videos, certain podcasts that you put up that do a number where people are saying, this is fantastic, this really helps me, this is something that makes my life better. You know, and they will write those in the comments and you will get that feedback. It's a very quick feedback loop. Just double down on those things. One of the most clever things any of my colleagues did for me was they sat me down one day in the boardroom and they showed me all the reasons why bad videos were terrible for our channel. Now, I had an output mentality. I was like, we put out 1 video a day, come what may. And that was the right thing to do because the algorithm loves consistency of output. However, as soon as you had 2 bad videos in a row, the algorithm went through the floor. And so it was so important to learn that you have to follow the numbers very religiously. And when they start to go bad, you have to shift really quickly, okay? So when you do figure out what your superpower is, you need to double down and own that space. Okay, so superpowers do not have to be like on the global level of superpowerdom, all right? So when we're thinking about Marvel, you've got all these cool cats, yeah? You've got like that one that can see through anything, that one that can hear everything, that one that's super strong, that one that's moody but like gets really big. You know, we're not talking global superpowers. These days, there's 8 billion of us knocking about, right? We can't like be Wonder Woman, Superman, you know, we can't go global, we have to go niche, okay? So you have to think about your superpower as being a bit like an Amazon books top seller, bestseller list. I don't know if you go on Amazon, right, and they've got their bestseller list. It's not like this is number 1 in fiction. It'll be like, this book is number 27 in cat implements made with historical context. Do you see what I mean, right? So you can go super, super niche and still be a number 1 in a sector. And the thing is in content now, like if I want to make kombucha, which I sadly do, right, I can go to like one of 30 different kombucha channels, yeah, and learn how to make kombucha. And there are people who are really good at certain types of kombucha on YouTube, right? And they've built proper businesses that pay for them and their family that are scaling, right? Because they know how to make cold kombucha rather than industrial kombucha, okay? So you just have to become, or your show or your brand has to become the number 1 in their niche, not the number 1 whole thing in the world. And this is anti-global media kind of sense, yeah, because we all want to build for massive audiences. We want to see a video with 100 million views. That's not how it works anymore, right? Right now, you have to become number 1 in one specific space, and you have to drive really hard into that space. So your unique superpower can be that you love trainers, but you don't love any kind of trainers. You love Adidas trainers from the late 70s. Do you see what I mean? And your whole channel is about finding those different pairs of trainers or figuring out who the designers were and going and meeting them or whatever. If you go deep and niche, you will build a really loyal audience. That audience will be prepared to buy shit. They'll be prepared to turn up no matter what. It will matter to them. And that is a really actionable audience that will do what you need them to do, and they will support you, okay? So step number one, figure out what your superpower is and scale it. We figured out that our superpower was inspiring the world through amazing true stories. It was the fact that our team could find these brilliant stories of real people doing in remarkable circumstances all around the world, and then we worked out all these different ways to share those stories and make money. And our trick became to incubate them on YouTube, build shows that had brand power across social media, make money from the advertising on social media, and then elevate the best shows and graduate them into Netflix. And that's what Netflix now want. Netflix now want people to make great shit happen on social media and then sell them the rights to put it on Netflix, okay? And that's something we were doing 7 or 8 years ago. So there's a model there that is really accessible. That means you can try new things at low cost, high frequency, build an audience, own an audience, and then Netflix come to you and say, any chance we could supersize your show, please, on our own money? And that's a brilliant way to take that brand and supersize it. So find your superpower. Number 2, write your very own fairy tale, okay? So this is a technique I use a lot with people, which is if you can't tell your own story about how you want to change the world, why the fuck should anyone else give a shit about what you're doing? Yeah? So, like, nobody needs you in the world until you decide the world needs you, until you decide what it is that you're going to be the superstar of and the story about how you're making an impact on the world, okay? So you have to write your own fairy tale, okay? So it's really powerful. You can start along the lines of, once upon a time, there was a little person called X, and they were really passionate and get really excited about these things, you know, and start and just play it out, okay? It's what humans are designed to do, is to learn and connect and get inspired around these magical little stories, okay? If you make like, my story was all over the shop for years. I used to go into meetings and people used to say, yeah, I've heard of your company, right, but what do you actually do again? Like, they were just really unclear on what our business was for, what we were number one at in the world, and kind of how it all made sense within their world and what the happy ever after was going to be, okay? And so the more you think about your fairy tale and think about you as a kid and just think about what lit you up, what got you to this room, what actually brought you here in the first place, and then how you can double down on that. What's the dragon you're going to slay? What is the thing that your show does that no other show can do? And why does that matter at a deep emotional level, okay? So you've got to write your own fairy tale. Once you get into that, if you're brave enough to unlock that emotion and to start thinking about what really matters with what it is you're doing, okay, people will be sucked into that. They will care because there's a tale there that they can emotionally connect to and that matters in the world, all right? So you've got to write your own fairy tale. Step number 3. This is where it gets corporate. This is where you have to accept that if you're going to build a business to sell it, it's got to be highly attractive to people with lots of money who want to make lots more money, because that is the world we live in, okay? When you've done 10, 15, 20 years in running a business and taking full responsibility for all the terrible things that happen again and again, all the terrible things you have to do again and again, you often need to get out, okay? Because it's not very good for your health, and often the business needs new leadership as well, okay? So at that point, you have to go into beast mode and you have to start thinking about how you get rid of the company, how you can exit it, okay? So step number 3 is to get your numbers pumping, okay? This does not matter until you know what your superpower is, and that is making you proper money, okay? That is when you need to get up until that point, all those years, you just have to stay alive. So as long as you've got enough money in the bank to pay for a month or 2 of costs, that's fine. You should be putting all your money back into the business. As long as you're paying yourself first, just keep going and get your numbers pumping. So when you find out that you've got that show that makes money, or you're brilliant at this service, and every time you do it, you make decent money, that's when you have to sit down with really good finance people and get your numbers pumping. Because when you sell your company, people value you usually on 2 things. Number 1 is your turnover. i.e. how much money have you billed this year, okay? And you need to show growth. You never want to go out in your company to try and sell your company if last year you did $1 million and this year you did $1 million. You need to take your company out when last year you did $1 million and this year you've done $1.5 million, 1.75. You need to be on the right trajectory when you take your company out, okay? Secondly, people value on your profit. They call it EBITDA, which is a version of measuring your profitability of your company. Again, you must take your company out when you've got very healthy EBITDA. Because what they do is they say, your company that did £1 million, great, it's grown to $1.5 million, and that $1.5 million, you've made 200 grand of profit. Okay, so we're going to value your company at 10 times your 200 million profit, your 200,000 profit, which with my crap maths is, £2 million ish. And so they'll do a sum like that, and that'll be the valuation of your business. Okay, so you have to get your growth going, and you have to get your profits really high. That's when you take your business out. It's when you're profitable, okay, and you're growing. That's what people want to buy, because they're buying your future profit, okay? So you have to prove that your business is going to continue to grow when you sell it, and that it's profitable, so they can take money out of it. If they're spending $2 million on your company, they need to figure out how quickly they can, A, earn that $2 million back from buying your company, and then B, carry on making money after that. So you need to sell a sustainable business, okay? Number 4, you've got to fire yourself. Right? So this is really difficult, because if you've built something over a decade, 2 decades, right? It's like having another child. I've got 3 children, they're not here, so I can say that. So, but basically, think about it. You built something that you put all that love into, you're surrounded by people that you've got deep connections to, you go to war together every single day. All of a sudden, you realize that it's going to be all over pretty soon. Somebody else is going to be in charge. They don't want to buy a business where you have to show up every day for that business to work, okay? They're desperate to get rid of you anyway, right? And so what you have to do is you have to build a business where you can step out for months at a time and the business is just doing great, carrying on growing, making money, doing new things that are cool, having the impact in the world. So you have to be able to fire yourself, okay? This sounds really stupid. It sounds like it doesn't matter. It really, really matters, okay? So if you've got good people around you and you've got your business moving, you've got to empower them to be able to take the business forward without you. That involves creating brilliant systems in your business, okay? So things that happen no matter what happens. It involves having clear rules, a really good set of values. So whenever anyone's questioning stuff in their head, if somebody all of a sudden gets a call to say, hey, can you come and do this? We really want it done straight away. That person knows, well, does that match our values? Is that something deep down that we're cool with? Because they know the company's values and they know the structures, and they don't have to just call their boss and say, boss, what do? We don't know what to do. Because those systems and those values are all working already. Okay, so if you can fire yourself, you're in brilliant shape. Number 5, you've got to build outrageous FOMO. Okay, so when you eventually do take your company out for sale, the worst thing in the world you can do is get an email from some finance person saying, we'd really like to buy your business. And all of a sudden, you've had a terrible day, you're exhausted, somebody drops that email in, it's like, whoa, lottery ticket, this is going to be amazing. You're like, thank God for that. That's a disaster, okay? So that's the last thing you want to do. Like a lot of things in life, there's things that feel like common sense, i.e. someone wants to buy my business, please help yourself buy my business, right? That's the last thing you should do. You have to be really hard to find, really hard to buy, okay? And you have to get to the point where there's lots of people absolutely desperate to buy your business. It has to feel like an absolute must-have. And the way to build that FOMO is essentially to become number 1 in your field, right? Number 2, to think about being a high-growth business in a high-growth marketplace. So great news about digital, it's a mega growth space right now, okay? And if your business is growing really quickly, that's really good. Number 3, you've got your numbers going, so you're growing and you're profitable. Brilliant. You've got your Fairytale as well, so people know why you exist. So we were doing all those different mashup of things on my first slide, okay, but we figured it out. What did people really want? They wanted a company that knew how to do video, original video at scale, and make money out of it in loads of different ways, okay? So we became the number 1 original video company in documentaries, okay? So when people were like, oh, why should we buy you? I was like, well, we're the world's #1 in original documentaries in digital, and we make loads of money from Snapchat. We make loads of money from Facebook, from YouTube. We sell our shows to Netflix. We do originals for Snapchat, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was a really easy sell. It didn't mean we weren't doing all the other stuff. We were still licensing photos. We were still making TV docs for co-pros internationally. We just didn't talk about that. We had a thing that we could be #1 at, and we pushed that really hard. And then we worked with a company, Deloitte, and Chris Graves, who's fantastic, who took us to market. So they took us out and they put us in front of everyone. And we said, this company's for sale. It's going to be a big competition. You must get in quick, otherwise you're going to miss out on the best video company in the marketplace. And the truth about that was that it almost fell apart lots of times, and it was very, very difficult to actually get a sale across the line. We got haircut right at the last minute. People dropped out left, right, and center. People were running after us in some meetings saying, don't sell to anyone else, we've got to sell to us, and then ghosted us. You know, so it's very, very difficult to actually get that last sale over the line. But the more people think that they're going to miss out on buying something they feel is a must-have, the more they're going to be willing to take that plunge and spend lots of money on buying your company, okay? So whatever you do, create FOMO. That's how Vice got to be valued at $4 or $5 billion, you know, when it was a company that had massive internal issues. It's now worth nothing, you know, but they managed to drive that value up unbelievably high because it felt like a difficult thing to get hold of, but something very exciting in the industry. So step number 5 is build outrageous FOMO. So if you want to get more, if you're a business leader, you want to sell your business, come and work with us, okay? At Creativille, we do something called Strategy for Success. We take you from vision to victory. We help you build your plan, your strategy to actually scale your business in the media and get it out there. And if you want to sell it, we help you write your plan to sell your business. We do that either with you on Zoom, or you can come to us and sit in that room and do it with us as well there. Thank you very much for listening. If you want any more, have a scan of the QR code.